everyone, it's Piers and Dan from Squid Gaming.
I'm gonna use that as the intro.
So good, so good.
Alrighty then, let's just get straight into it. Some of the patch notes which I think stood out for the things that I do in the game. They fixed pretty much all the skill challenges and the event challenges in the game. They were really buggy when the game came out. There was a lot of stuff that didn't work, especially with the events. Some skill challenges, like the bosses you have to get before communing with the skill point, some of them would glitch that as well. This was a couple of days ago, so it seems that they've actually fixed this, because I've noticed a difference within the last couple of days. I've only come across one bug in the last few days, actually, which is the dragon in the Love Lady area of Fosgorge Sound. We were actually there when it bugged out completely, and it wasn't respawning anymore, so that's something that they probably fixed by now, but I haven't been on today. So, also the monthly achievements, they fixed that and officially said that the monthly achievements will carry on turnover at the beginning of the month at midnight. They had a problem where people had completed it for the end of August, which wasn't intended, so they're having to fix all that. But at least they've officially given us a starting point for the monthly achievements. Some stuff with crafting. They've fixed a lot of the stuff to do with the chef profession. That's quite a different profession to the other ones. So there's a lot of problems with that, and I've noticed that as well. That it was a bit buggy. So I've actually changed profession because it was so buggy. But I think they fixed it now, so it's good that you can come back in and do that. Along with that to do with crafting, they've made it so you can now craft stuff that's in your bank and not have to drag it over into the inventory. This is like a part 1 fix. That they wanted to do a full fix, which would actually make it a lot easier for you to craft, but they wanted to give us something so that we wouldn't have to wait that long. It's not, to be honest, I didn't really think it was that much a big deal, but it is a lot, quicker to do crafting and stuff. Rangers can't revive their own pets anymore. The F prompt, so not the F, yeah, it has a priority order. So your interact key now has a priority order. The first one being what you selected, the second one being your loot, the third one being revive/stomp, and the fourth one being anything else. Not too sure why this wasn't in the game in the first place, but it's good that it's in the game now. As you can see, all the stuff coming up on the screen. You can pause, rewind, whatever, get what you need to know. The show will be going up 3 times a week, so there'll be plenty of stuff, plenty of changes, so you could just come here for the updates. Because patch notes aren't actually on a very scheduled, they're not being put up by the developers specifically in their entirety. That, like, you have to go onto their Reddit page, their Facebook page, the wiki to get different sort of changes. So I'm just compiling loads of stuff that I found on the internet and putting them here. Yeah, so if this helped, that's good. We're going to go and discuss some of our first impressions of the game so far. Alright, so we're just talking about our first impressions, first
Foray into Guild Wars 2.
yeah, because this game is gonna, obviously, it's an MMO, it's gonna be changing a lot, so early stages of the game is really important. So let's just start off with dungeons. What do you think?
Well, I think that they're pretty standard, really. I mean, they're not too different from the normal dungeon. I mean, there's a lot less sort of mobs than you would find in like a WoW dungeon.
Yeah.
And they're shorter as well. But overall, it's pretty similar stuff. Nothing really new.
There isn't much new to do with dungeons, yeah.
I will say one really annoying thing though is that they haven't got a matchmaking tool, which is rather annoying because you can't find a party.
That is annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they did advertise this game as this, MMO without roles. Like, you don't have the tank, you don't have the DPS, and that is true to a certain extent. But the fact is, you do sort of, it's more, everything's up to you. So you don't have the matchmaking system, so you gotta go in, say, in chat, looking for people to do the dungeon with, and then you gotta assign roles, because yeah, you do have to have a tank
Yeah, I don't
most of the
think you
time.
can really
Like,
uh,
sure, you can do it without a
remove that
tank,
from the game.
probably, but it's a lot easier if you do have a structured team. And in my opinion, I don't know why they made a big deal about getting rid of that system, because I think the system works. I don't see what's wrong with it. But anyway,
To an extent, I think the biggest problem was the fact that there were so few tanks and so few healers that, like,
yeah,
and so many DPS classes, it was really hard to get a party that could just do the dungeon, like, and do it well. Yeah.
yeah. Um, the early and end game comparison, because I think there's definitely a lot of differences.
Yeah, I think the developers have put a lot more effort into the early game than they would in an MMO normally. Like, it's a lot more fun to sort of level up than
Like we were just
it
talking
is.
earlier about how we thought it was like the early game areas felt more alive, like they felt like real
Yeah,
places.
because of the random events which contribute a big part to that. Like you'll just be walking along and then an event will appear and you'll just participate in it and do all sorts of things. Like one time I was walking along and I was just walking, just trying to get to a quest, and then this bridge just blew up in front of me, and it was a pretty epic moment.
Yeah,
It was
and
fun.
that's the
Yeah.
sort of thing which you get at the beginning of the game, but as you move on all the way to now the level 80 areas, it just feels like this massive sort of space full of high level mobs, and there's just no
Yeah.
life to it. There's no, like, personally I don't like it, and Piers, you find that as well. I'm not too sure if other people find that, but it seems to me that the early game has a lot more sort of,
Yeah.
if you like leveling, then it's a lot more pleasant to level in. But when you get to the level 80 area, y it's very difficult to do the end game stuff, because you can't, because you've got the area that you quest in is, well, you sort of go around in, is like not very exciting. So
Yeah, I definitely agree, but I think that they'll fix that with time. And I also think there are other things to do, like once you reach level 80, of course, as well, which can be quite interesting. Like the world v world system is quite cool.
and you were talking earlier about the builds as well.
Oh yeah, builds. I think like they advertise that basically you can be anything. Like you don't have to do a specific role, like we were saying earlier. But you really do. Like, I mean, you don't, but there's better roles still. And I don't think you can really take that out of an MMO. It's just sort of something that's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And crafting is a really good way of leveling, and it's a really good way of crafting endgame gear, and
Yeah.
that's also another thing that really contributes to stuff you can do after level 80. And the cool thing that you can do with crafting is you can actually go into, you can only have 2 professions at a time, but you can actually do all of them and switch between them.
Yeah.
Which is
It just
cool.
costs a small fee every time you switch.
Yeah.
But that's
And
not
when you
too
get to that
much.
point, a small fee is a small fee, because you should have a lot of money when you get to the point where you'll be switching crafting professions.
Yeah, basically.
And
The crafting itself is pretty similar to WoW, I think, and a lot of MMOs, but it's quite good, yeah. It adds some new features.
the guild system. Okay. Let's just end this with a lot of the other sort of parts of the game that have been buggy, but for an
Yeah,
MMO's
it's
launch, it's probably been pretty good. But the thing that
Yeah.
was the biggest blow was the trading post, which is like the auction house, and that was down for a good, I'd say it was down for a week,
Yeah, about a week.
maybe
It
8
would've been
days
a
or
week.
something.
Yeah, but it came up every now and again for a certain portion of players, but for the majority of the time it was down, which was really crippling, especially because they don't actually have a player-to-player trade system. So you couldn't really sell anything unless you wanted to do a trust system via mail, which is not good in an MMO.
And for a company that, was always, the people to go, oh, we'll bring it out when we're done. It's done when it's
Yeah.
done. It was a bit it didn't really make any sense. The fact that a massive part of the game was down for that amount of time, and also the beta weekends. Why were they weekends? Like, they really should have done that. I mean, a lot of stuff that was wrong with the game after launch could have been solved with longer beta testing, but like, you know, we're past that. But as far as the game goes, it's really good so far, and we feel that we don't have all the knowledge yet, which is brilliant, since we're like pretty much capped. He's capped. I'm just 3 levels under.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know that much about any builds, like any sort of characters other than my own, so it's really interesting discovering new things. There's a lot to discover in this game.
I think that's the thing we should just leave that on. Like, there's plenty to discover in this game, which is the one thing that you want from an MMO. And whether it's a contender with WoW, there's not really any comparing. Like, I don't like comparing things with WoW because, I mean, we can compare it, but what's the point? Like, there's no... What are we achieving from doing that? It's a fun game, a standalone game, so let's just leave it at that. This show is going to be coming up on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays with patch notes and discussions. So there should be more gameplay. Hopefully we can get some of the dragon gameplay. We're going to be going through the dungeons as well, level 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And other than that,
some events.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll see you guys later.
See you later.